The 458 Speciale is the fastest, most advanced, but also the most fun to drive mid-engined V8 that Ferrari has ever built. And those are Ferrari's words, not ours. It'll cost just over £200,000 when it reaches the UK next February, and in reality it will be one of the most exciting road cars there has ever been. Here is a little taster as to why. The engine in the Speciale is the most potent non-turbo V8 that Ferrari has ever built, with an incredible 14:1 compression ratio and a rev limit of over 9,000. It thumps out not just more power than the regular 458, in this case a whopping 597 bhp, but also more torque right across the entire rev range. Dial in a 90 kg reduction in overall weight, plus various other bits of tweakery to the brakes, the gearbox, the tyres, the aerodynamics and the suspension, and what you end up with is a car that can run rings around the standard 458 Italia on road or track. And the last time I drove one of those, it didn't exactly strike me as being slow. So what does all that feel like out on the road? The moment you start driving the 458 Speciale on the road, all these instant things just come flying at you which define it as being different and something sharper and superior even than a regular 458 Italia. The suspension has been tweaked quite heavily to just be sharper everywhere. The steering isn't actually that different, but because there have been changes to the front suspension, it does feel that much more pinned, that much more precise. It's very light though. The power assistance is, I don't know, possibly a little bit too strong given how urgent the rack is, but you can still put the nose of this car just where you want to in any corner. But the really big difference is, apart from the SSC system, which we'll come to, are the brakes, the engine, and most of all, I think, the gearbox. Upshifts are now 20% faster than in a normal Italia, and downshifts are 44% sharper. And that just means, on the move, it feels like you think about downshifting, and the thing is downshifted almost before you've made a physical movement at the paddle. It is incredible how fast and how well this thing changes gear. The statistics of the engine we've already talked about, but what you can't ever experience until you actually drive this thing is just the urgency of response at the pedal to what you do with your feet. It's incredible. It feels like a proper racing car almost, the way it responds. There's also more noise, as you can probably hear, inside but not outside. They know full well that this car is going to be used at track days an awful lot, and there's no point making a track day car that blows all the noise regulations to pieces. The brakes. Let's talk about the brakes. Basically what you get on this car is the braking system from Ferrari. You've got different material in the pads, different material in the discs themselves, much bigger calipers, and as a result, add in the 90 kg weight reduction, this thing just stops on a sixpence. It really does. Outside of a GT3, and I think possibly even including the new GT3, I don't think I've driven a road car that stops as well as this one does. And as you can also see, you can muck about with the handling of this car, with the chassis of this car, to your heart's content. And that is because it's just so nicely balanced. It's sharp, but it's also friendly. Perhaps the Speciale's best party trick is its new SSC system, which stands for Side Slip Control. It's basically a new setting within the Maranello system that allows you to go sideways in the car, but with the ESP system still engaged, so it'll save you if things get too far out of shape. You can still turn everything off and go completely sideways if that's what turns you on, but with SSC engaged, Ferrari reckons the car is actually faster and more thrilling to drive for most people than it is with everything switched off. Here's how that works on the track. Okay, third gear corner. That is just absolutely amazing. I mean, that's an 85, 90 mile an hour corner there. Once you've got the car where it needs to be at the apex, that's when this system really works well for you, because then you can just whack the throttle open without fear of the thing turning round. I mean, watch. That's amazing. I mean, that is making me look like some kind of superhero, but it's not me that's doing that. It's allowing me enough throttle to get the back end out, but not so much that you turn the car around. It's amazing. Hard though it might be to believe, but the Speciale really does make the regular 458 Italia feel like yesterday's car. It's so much faster and more urgent than the standard car when you're going for it, and yet it's almost as civilised if you just want to potter about in it. And that's probably its greatest trick of all, being epically quick and exciting, but also, I don't know, just so damn easy to drive. There's no fight to be had when driving this car, in other words, just pure pleasure. Whatever will they come up with next?